Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, my name is Caroline and I make sewing tutorials and patterns to help you along your sewing journey. For today's video, I'll show you how to make a beautiful bias cut silk dress that looks so chic and elegant and would be perfect for a wedding guest or a bridesmaid look. I absolutely love this style because it looks so put together and nice, but at the same time it's such an easy thing to make. And for this tutorial, I'll be using my currently best-selling pattern, the Aimee bias cut dress. You can find the link to the pattern in the description. I have actually already shown how to make this dress before here on this channel, but one of you guys asked me how to make the dress fully lined, because for the tutorial that I made, the dress wasn't fully lined. I had just finished it with bias tape, but this is why I'm here for the second time, to show you the step-by-step on how to do it fully lined, and also to show the versatility of the pattern. Depending on what fabric and what version you choose to make, the result is really different. And for the entire week, the pattern will be on sale with 20% off, and if you stay until the end of the video, I'll have an extra gift for you. But first, thank you for giving so much love to the Aimee dress pattern. All of you who purchase it, any of my patterns really, have really helped support this channel. But now let's get started and check out the materials that you need. For the long version, you will need 2 to 3 meters of fabric that's at least 140 centimeters wide. And for the dress to have a really flowy and beautiful drape, you can use lightweight woven fabrics like satin, charmeuse, crepe de chine. Silk and silk blends will look beautiful, but you can also use the polyester version of those fabrics. My choice was a polyester satin that has a more subtle but beautiful sheen to it. In previous versions, I have made it with rayon viscose. It's easier to cut and sew than satin because it's less slippery, but it also looks really beautiful. You will also need the same amount for the lining. And it doesn't have to be the exact same fabric, especially if you're using actual silk, because that's really expensive. But you have to make sure that you're choosing something that is at least similar to this fashion fabric, because otherwise it could look a bit weird. So for the lining, I'll be using this really thin rayon fabric. It's not the same color as my fashion fabric, but since it's only for the skirt, I don't think it will be a problem. But if you're lining the bodice, make sure to choose a fabric that's at least the same color or it looks similar, because it can end up peeking through. And if your fabric is not transparent, you can line only the top and leave the skirt without it. So now let's go to cutting. You can fold the fabric from the crosswise grain to the selvage until it forms a triangle and place the pattern pieces on that fold. But instead, I doubled the pattern. You can print it twice if you prefer. And then I extended the line that indicates the grain of the fabric that you're supposed to cut. And to make sure everything was placed correctly, I measured the distance from that line all the way to the selvage, from the top and to the bottom. This is another way of cutting it. I feel like you can save more fabric when you cut it this way. And of course, if you want to make it lined, you will need to double the amount of pieces that you cut. And you'll also need a rectangle strip of fabric for the waist size. So now we're ready to go to the sewing part. Connect each of the front and back bodice pieces at the shoulder line. Do that for the lining and for the fashion fabric as well. Now iron all of the shoulder seams open. Now place the lining pieces on top of the fashion fabric. I drew lining on all of them so I wouldn't mess up later. Place them right sides together and sew it around the neckline. Now you have to put all of the seam allowance towards the lining and stitch it to the lining. Now place the armholes right sides together and now stitch it all around the armhole. It's a curved seam, so I recommend taking a pair of scissors and making small cuts all around the edge. That way it will release the tension and will look better. But you have to be really careful not to cut the stitching. Now turn the bodice pieces right sides out. And all the stitching will be hidden inside. Now we need to press it with an iron. Now open the side seams like this. This is the lining, this is the outside layer. And place them right sides together like this. And stitch 1 centimeter away from the edge. The bottom is still open, so stitch it 0.5 centimeter away from the edge just to make sure it will stay in place. So it will stick together and it will be easier for us to gather it later. Now change the settings of your machine to the longest stitch length you have. And run a basting stitch all over again, but this time don't backstitch at the beginning or the end of the stitching. This is the front skirt, and now you have to gather the bottom of the top until it's around the same size as the top of the skirt. Just separate the threads and pull. And I like to concentrate the gathering at this part, right where your bust is going to be, not at the sides, because it's gonna keep it from getting really bulky here. Set it aside for now. Now let's make the waist tie. Just fold it in half and sew it 1 centimeter away from the edge. Now just trim the excess. Now we have to make the skirt, so place the skirt panels right sides together. And place the waist ties right at the waist mark. Sew both the sides now, and you have to finish the seam later with a zigzag stitch or an overlocker. I will not be using an overlocker on mine because the needle that I have on my overlocker right now is not made for delicate fabrics like this. So I'll do a French seam at the sides, but you can finish it with a zigzag stitch as well. Now you need to sew the bodice right sides together with the skirt. Place this edge right here, right in the middle of the triangle. Match the side seam. And place the back right in the middle of the triangle as well. Now you need to sew it all around, 1 centimeter away from the edge. Now do the same thing to the other side. You also have to match right in the middle right here. Now if you don't want to line the dress, you can just finish this part with an overlocker or a zigzag stitch, and then you put the seam down after you finish it and top stitch it. The way to make it look super clean and with all of the stitches hidden would be to sandwich the bodice between the skirts. I recommend finishing the seam with a zigzag just so it doesn't fray, but it's not going to end up showing because all of the seams will be inside. Here's the skirt and here's the bodice. I'm folding the bodice down, and now I'm going to take the lining skirt and I'll sandwich the bodice between both of the layers of the skirt. This is the outside part, and this is the inside. I'm gonna place the lining skirt on top, matching the triangles, matching the side seam. I pinned it all around, from front and back. Now you just have to stitch it, but closer to the edge than the previous seam allowance that we sewed. And now it looks like this, but it's gonna look better, of course, if you use the same fabric. And before hemming the dress, you actually need to leave it hanging overnight so the hemline can deform. If you skip this step, you might end up with a dress with pointy sides. So after it deforms, place the pattern pieces for the skirts on top of it, retrace the hemline, and trim it. And after that, you can hem it. But make sure to make a really thin hem so it looks more delicate. And after hemming it, you're done. Now let's go to the try-on portion of the video. So I really hope you guys like this tutorial. This dress is so easy to make and so cute. And if you make it, don't forget to tag me on Instagram because I would love to see it. And since you've been here until the end, if you use the code Aimee10, you'll get an extra 10% off your purchase. And this code will never expire either. Even if you're watching this way in the future, it will still be on. And if this video was helpful to you, or if you would like to see more videos like this, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. I hope to see you guys on my next video as well. Bye!